This is going to be absolutely insane, maybe a little bit controversial. I hope you're ready for the alphabet tier list. The letter A. This is the first letter of the alphabet. It is a vowel, which makes it pretty useful. But honestly, if we were only looking at utility, it would be a completely different story. It's not about how many words it's in, it's about the quality of the word that it's in. A's going in the B tier. So we're going to go ahead and put A in. Coming in next, it is the B. Visually, this letter is just beautiful. It's in a lot of really good words. You know, boobs, butts, balls. Gotta be A tier. The letter C, not that great. There's a lot of words where they have a C in it, but it doesn't need the C. A lot of the time it goes with K, which doesn't even make sense because they make the same sound. Very simplistic, very basic, very boring. It's going in the D tier. Up next, we have the D. D's a classic. It's one of the first five letters. D is not in all that many words. It's not like when you think of a good letter, you don't think of D. It's just sort of a basic, run of the mill, everyday letter. And for that reason, the D is going in C tier. Next up, we got another vowel. This is the E. And the E is actually the most used letter in the entire alphabet. It's a very useful letter, but again, that's not really what we're looking for. We're not ranking these letters based on their utility. We're ranking them as a letter. When I think of a vowel, E is the one that comes to mind. So I'm gonna put E in. We're gonna put E in B tier because it could be better. It's not the greatest, but it's also not bad. Up next, we got F. F is just a great letter. It packs a real punch. Fa, you know. It's a bold, brash. It's really out there, and it does its own thing, and it doesn't give a shit what anybody thinks about it. So F is going in the S tier. It's just all around solid, strong, crazy, crazy little, sexy little letter. Up next is the G. Now the G is a controversial one. All right, not everybody likes G. A lot of the time, G and J are sort of interchangeable letters. You know, why use a G when a J will do? It's not. It's not really anything special. It's it just doesn't make me say, "Wow, that's a letter." It's just sort of there. It's just average. So I'm gonna put that right in the middle at C tier. Not a bad letter, but it's not really a good letter either. Next up is H. I know I'm going to get some hate for this one. I'm going to get a lot of people who don't agree with me here, but I'm going to put H down in. It's not quite F tier, but it's not much above it. I'm putting it right in between E and F tier, and I'll tell you why. It's not really its own thing. Like CH turns it into K, you know? But you could just use a K for that. You know, and GH, G, what's the point, man? It doesn't really have its own thing going on. And for that reason, I can't put it with the other letters because it's not. It's sort of just. It needs another letter to to really be anything. You know, sure, there are some like standalone H moments that should be taken into account. You know, hairy, hate, hemorrhoids, you know, but for the most part, unless it's at the start of a word, it's not really ever the focus of the word. With the H is sort of just there. It's never the thing. It's just part of something. And that's not what we're looking for on this tier list. We need something more than that. Next up, we got I. Now, I is a good letter. I is a really good letter because I is not only a letter, it's a word. And there's some other letters that are like that, you know. B is a letter and a word, which makes it that's why it's in A tier cuz come on, it's B. Buzz buzz, you know? But I is a word that you use to represent yourself, and I think that's kind of beautiful. You know, it's a very versatile letter. It's used a lot of places. It is a vowel. Um, it's a standalone word, and you can never really go wrong with the letter I. It's a letter for everybody, really. There's nobody you can't hate on I. Is it S tier? I think it's right in between S and A, honestly. It's not like incredible. It doesn't make you say wow, but it's really, really good. Coming in next, we got J. Now, J is a funky letter, man. When I'm thinking of something with funk, J comes to mind right away. J is juicy, jammy. It's just J words. They're fun to say. Jiggle. Come on, how could you hate on Jiggle? A tier. It's a good letter. Up next, we got K. Not special. It's not like some crazy new thing. No one really says like I want to be like K when I grow up. People don't really say that. It's not. It doesn't have a lot of substance to it. And it's another one of those letters that can sort of be switched out for another letter. You could switch out C and K, and it doesn't really change the way the word sounds. It's also, a lot of the time, it is silent. We Silent letters just. What's the point, man? You gotta speak up. You gotta be your own thing. And for that reason, I'm putting it right at the border of D and E. It's a little bit worse than C. Next up is L. I know I'm gonna get a little bit of hate on this one from the L community, but it's going in C tier. There's nothing special about it. It's right around the middle of the alphabet, but it doesn't really carry any words. A lot of the time, you need two of them to get the point across. Shell, smell, bell. If it's such a great letter, why do you need two of them? And for that reason, it's going in C. You know what? D tier. If it was a good enough letter, one would be enough. Next up is M. M is a classic. M's a good letter. It's got its own sound. A lot of these other ones, they have like you could imitate the sound of a C or a K or a G with another letter. But M, it has its own thing going on. And M is the noise that you make when something is good. Mmm. It is the embodiment of goodness in a letter. And for that reason, M is gonna go in A tier. Next up is N, and N stands for nothing special. There is nothing really special about N. Sure, it has its own sound, but like even the design of it, man, look at that. That's just a rip off of M. That's just copying M and doing it worse. It's got less points, it's got less style, less pizzazz. It it's in some good words, but it's not like it just doesn't really do it for me. Another vowel now. We got O, and there's nothing wrong with O. It's not a word on its own, but it can be used as a word. If you drop something, you might go, oh shit, or like if you remember something, you go, oh, and I think that has to count for something. People use it on its own because it's a good letter. Um, I personally really like. I said before about putting the L's together for O. It's a whole different story. What I like about O is you can put two O's together and it completely changes the sound of the letter. With two L's together, it's just more L. But with two O's together, it goes from O to oo. You know? It goes from lose to loose. I think O might be. I don't know. Is O better than I? I don't think so. Next up, we got P. There's not a whole lot to say here other than that P is a fucking good letter. P is a great letter. Come on, P. It's funny. It's a word on its own. You're gonna go P. You got P. You got poop. It's a funny letter, and P is one of the best to ever do it. It's a great letter through and through, but it's not quite S tier. Up next is Q. Q's a bad letter. It's not good. It needs a U to even be anything. You can't use a Q without a U. It's never really needed. Think about it. The word queen, you could spell that Kween. You know, uh, Earthquake. You could spell that Kwake. It's not needed. And on top of that, you need to use a U every time you use it. I think we should just get rid of Q. It's not a good letter, and it's really not needed. Up next is R. R is a good letter. It's got a good sound. When you want like a hard sound, you use R. It's like murder. It's got its own use. doesn't really pop. It doesn't really stand out to me. It's good. It's good, but it's not great. We're going to put R in the B tier. Up next, we have S. S is good, but again, it's one of those letters that sometimes you need two of them when one should be enough. Why do you need two letters? Why do you need to have the same letter twice when you could just have it once? It's because your letter is not good enough to stand on its own. You know, the word guess, the word stress. Also, it's hard to say. I'm going to put that in the E tier. It's going in the E tier. I don't really like it. Next up, we got the letter T, which, like a couple of these letters, is also a word on its own. And that counts for extra points. I think it's got to count for something when a letter is so good that it can be a word on its own. Tea is great. I love to drink it. It's got a good sound. It's got a couple sounds, hard and soft teas. It's a pretty useful letter. And I don't know, it just looks nice. It looks solid. It looks almost like a tree. And tree just happens to start with the letter T. I think T belongs in A tier. Next up, we got U, which is by far the worst vowel. It's not a good vowel, and honestly, I'd say it's not a good letter. Why you can use two O's instead of a U, and it makes the same sound. It goes with Q, which we already established. Terrible letter. These two are best friends. They are partners in crime, and for that and a couple more reasons, we're gonna put U with S. It's not quite Q level bad, but it's not good. Now V has style. V's got its own thing going. I'll put V in B tier because like V is it's its own thing. It doesn't try to copy another letter, but do I use it a lot? No. Do I like the words it's in? Some of them. Vagina. That's the only one that really comes to my mind. Vegetables. Ew. Who likes vegetables? Not me, dude. It's not great, but it's hard to hate on a letter that's so unique. Up next, W. This is an easy choice for, you know what? W's going in S tier. It's a sick letter. It's cool. There's nothing quite like W. It just shows up, kicks ass. Everyone knows it's there. When you see a W, you know that it means fucking business. When W is there, it's always a party. And for that reason, W is taking a spot in the S tier. Up next, we have X, which is another visually awesome letter. This letter shows up to party. It gets down. Everybody loves an X. We're putting X in A tier because it's just cool. It's fresh. Another one for S tier, we have Y. Y doesn't give a fuck, dude. Sometimes it's a vowel, sometimes it's not. It can be anything. It can be whatever it wants to be. It's super versatile. It comes in words when you never expect it. Sometimes it changes to an I when you make something plural, which is awesome. All right, this thing, you never know what Y is going to do. Is it going to turn into an I? Is it going to turn into a vowel? You never know what Y is going to do. And for that reason, Y is going right here in the S tier, where it belongs. Y is the best vowel and one of the best letters of all time. Z, this is going to be controversial now. Some of you might not agree. Some of you guys are going to say that I'm crazy. And damn it, I might be. But Z's going in S tier. Look at how funky that Z is, man. It's like an S turned around. What bad things can you say about Z, alright? Say one bad thing about Z. I dare you. I dare you. I will fucking kill you. Z is a good letter. Everything it's in, it's cool. Zebras, awesome. So there you have it, folks. That is the official tier list of letters from best to worst. At the top we have F, W, Y, and Z. And at the bottom we have Q. Q and H. I think it's pretty self-explanatory why those letters are there. It's because they deserve to be there. They are bad letters. And that's really all there is to it.